Worth being crowded because Paula is quite a treat. I know you'll love her. I want to tell you about some upcoming events real quick that we'll have here. Our next event in the Appalachian Center is on September 13th at 7 o'clock, and that will be Sugar Tree will be in concert. And those are three Berea graduates, many of you know, Jim Amberfields, Deborah Payne, and Megan Nosman. And they're a great trio of sort of modern old-time music is how I think of them. That'll be at 7 o'clock on September 13th. Then on September 23rd, Lee Maynard will be here giving a reading. What time is that, George? 8?
Yes.
8 o'clock. Lee Maynard, a great Appalachian author. And our next dinner on the ground will be Jason Rutledge, who will present on horse logging on September 26th, and that'll be at 11:45. Of course, we'll have lunch. So I hope y'all can come to some of those events. We'll have them all listed on the Appalachian Center website. Well, I want to introduce Paula's introducer. There you are. We're really glad to have Elizabeth Crow with us today. She is the executive director of the Kentucky Environmental Foundation, which does so much good work. And she's also just, as many of you know, an all-around wonderful person. So come on now.
Good afternoon. I'm really pleased and very humbled to have been asked to introduce Paula Nelson today. I am the mother of a Cherokee girl, and who was raised here in Berea, although all Cherokee family is down in the Paula boundary in North Carolina. And as I was raising her here, it's some distance for sure by mileage, but even a greater distance culturally, and was very difficult to try to find a way to keep her connected to her Cherokee roots and her Cherokee culture and family. And one of the ways that we kind of struggled through ourselves was to learn as many little Cherokee words as we could, and as many of the dances and songs as we could. And for me to have been introduced to the culture so late in my own life, and then try to teach this to my daughter and have her kind of walk through her world here with that kind of pride, when the culture is really virtually unknown by so many people. But we learned to count. Shagwa, Tali, Tori, Nunki, Ishki, and on, and we learned the names of animals, and by as she got older, that was kind of less cute and less interesting to her. And it's really been so fortunate for us living away from family, and as well as folks in Cherokee, both our family members and other members there, who've really seen a huge experience and been a part of a resurgence of attention to the Cherokee language and the old traditions. Hannah's cousins are now learning Cherokee in school, and the adults in the tribe, an entire generation or two who had never really been taught by their parents because they were beaten out of speaking their own language in their schools, how to speak this language and how to kind of get back to these old cultures. So it's with that context that I really have come to admire and appreciate Paula, and appreciate the work that she's done on the reservation as well as off to help keep folks connected and introduce the rest of us who might not have a direct connection to the culture to really get a sense of what this truly native Appalachian language and culture is all about. So please join me in welcoming Paula today. She is an enrolled member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians and lives in the Big Cove community on the Paula boundary. She started her own orientation to Cherokee culture at a very young age as a dancer for the various traditional dancers of the Cherokee communities. She continued through her teen years to be involved with cultural events and activities of her people, and traveled throughout the country on the powwow circuit. She's been a contract performance artist to create original songs in the Cherokee language and to serve as language retention tools for schools and families, and has been involved in a project called Project Songbird, which is a songwriting, composition, collaboration in the Cherokee language. She's published several poems, has a CD entitled Chant, Cherokee Hopes and New Traditions, which I highly recommend. A talented artist, she was recently chosen by the chief of the Eastern Band Cherokee Indians to illustrate children's books to promote literacy. Paula has emerged as one of the leading Cherokee voices. She combines storytelling, singing, and lecturing to present a profound and beautiful look into the complexities of the principal people, the Talagi, past and present. Thank you, Paula.
Well, I don't have to look at my paper and say introduce myself and my purpose, because Elizabeth took care of that for me. But I will address purpose a little bit. When Silas and I were talking about me coming here, we were talking about exploring origin myths and the cosmology, and that's one of the things I'm fascinating with myself. And let me state for the record that when I'm here speaking with you, I'm speaking and representing myself, not the entire 3 nations of the Cherokee people, the Eastern Band, or the United Kadua Band, or the Western Nation. I'm here talking about what I've learned myself through talking with people, through talking with elders, and through self-exploration, you know, and exploration of the universe at large, of this world and beyond. So the things that I'm going to be talking about here don't represent necessarily the whole feelings of an entire nation. They're coming from my experiences and from my learning, and I hope that's how you'll take them and take them into yourselves and twirl them around a bit and see what comes out. But I'd like to start off with a prayer, but I like to sing my prayers, because I think even in the Christian Bible it says, "Make unto the Lord a joyful sound." That's something that we have in common. So I want to sing a prayer for you that I wrote, and I actually wrote this originally for the Kadua Language Academy. And I'll translate it before I go. We pray. We pray. Old Seha, we live. Bocha de la Guai, we learn. Old Shiwani, we speak. Dodit se Yohanshka, we teach. Do se Nogishko, we sing. Ostaskilikwo, we dance. And we pray like this always to be, and I think that prayer can stand for every single culture, that we all want to live, we want to learn, we want to be able to speak, we want to be able to teach the future generations, we want to be able to sing the praises and the joy that we experience of our life on this planet. So I'd like to sing this as my opening prayer to get us going. We adore Ishtishko. Hiushta Igo Hida Gesheshti. Hui Ocheha Oche de la Guahi Nihaniwa Nihaniwa Ochiwani Do that say lo hoshka Nihaniwa Nihaniwa Doce no gishko Doce no gishko Oshka stile bo Nihaniwa Nihaniwa Widado lishtishko Hiushta Igo hida Gesheshti. Hui! So that's how we're going to kick off. I'd like to start out by saying that we classify ourselves sometimes, or people of color, as indigenous peoples. But I'd like to say that we are all indigenous peoples because we all come from somewhere. We all belong somewhere. If you're Scottish or Irish, or if you're African, or if you're any other nation, you're indigenous to where you were born. You're indigenous to that country. So I'd like to clear that up. And I'd also like to say that I'm just a member of a species. Classification, mammal, Homo sapien, first and foremost. I am a human being. Government Indian ID number R4779. I have two identity numbers. I have one the government likes to stamp onto me, and I also have a social security number. Our government Indian ID numbers are like our pedigree cards, which I find ironic because even though I'm Cherokee, I like to call myself Gadua. I'm also so many other things. And this world was traveled by so many other people. So who knows what's in my blood? Who really knows? Who knows what's in your blood or your blood or your blood? We're a great mishmash of people because this world was traveled so many years before a lot of people and a lot of scientists and even could begin to think that this world was traveled. So who knows what kind of blood is inside me? So I choose to recognize the Kadua side, the Cherokee side. I also have some Irish, I also have some Catawba. Who knows what else is inside my body? But it's blood nonetheless. I am just a human being. And sometimes I get saddened by the suffering that exists in people caused by the lack of their tribal identity, their people's identity, their personal identity, and even their family identity. Because this leads to a downfall and a breakdown in culture and in the world. Birth. My origins are the same as the rest of yours. This process cannot be denied. I was created the same way as everyone else. Whether through, you were created through in vitro fertilization involving needles, slides, fertilization specialists, surrogates, etc., or through the natural process of sexual intercourse. The outcome is the same. We are created, and we are born or we're not. And I have a poem I'd like to share with you. My husband and his friends were talking about their parents' experience, or their experience with catching their parents having sex and how icky it was. And I just got tickled by it. And I was driving down the road after their conversation. This poem came to my head, and it is about birth. And it's called Begat. Path is set by the divine. My choosing connects the web, they all intertwine. Along the drag line are rhythms and train. One added to one makes one. Sky added to water makes rain. And I found that there's no stipulation when emotions and bodies convene in undulation. Never, ever given to me at any time, set by any kind of regulation. Why, upon the day of my birth, consecration, consummation, my parents' outright fornication? What a tribulation and a celebration to me, their child. Their minds unhinged from their bodies, and they were lost in ecstasy. But my parents' intimacy set me free, spun in mind to fabric of the great mystery. My parents' intimacy set me free, spun in mind to fabric of the great mystery. So thank you, parents. We should all thank our parents for being born. I want to talk about birth. Recently I was lucky enough to hear the 13 indigenous grandmothers speak. Have any of you ever heard of the 13 indigenous grandmothers speak? And I was particularly moved. And it probably changed the course of what I was going to talk about. But I want to go back to birth and how this leads into the rest of what I'm going to be talking about. But before we're born, we are in a mother's womb. We're here. We're sitting warm in her bodily waters, and we're growing. And we're there for 9 months out of the year. And we're sitting in that warm water, and we're taking in her emotions, and we're taking in things and gifts from her. And then the water breaks, and out we come. And the human body is made mostly of water. We would and will die without water. Water is an essential element. It is an elemental honor. So that's the first part. Our birth, that water, that warm motherly fluid. And then, after the water breaks and we're born, we gasp and we strain to take that very first breath. Those of us who have children know what that sounds like. And then we cry. That's another first. You hear that baby cry. It's taking in air. We cry as infants to express our needs. We take in that air and we cry. We let them know when we're wet. We let them know when we need to change. We let them know when we're uncomfortable. We let them know when we want to be held. We let our parents know when we're sick. And even after we get older, we still take in that air. We use the air to express ourselves again, because we use that air to speak. We could not speak if we were unable to take out air. We wouldn't be able to sing. So we're still expressing ourselves, even at this age, by an important element, air. And sometimes we still cry, using that air. Some science teacher of mine told me that you couldn't touch air. And I remember I was very young in high school. I think I was probably in 9th grade in earth science. And I just went, you know, how can that be? I ride in a car, hang my head out the window like a dog. I can feel the air. It touches me. You know, ride on the back of the truck like we do on the back roads. We feel the air. It touches us. And it touches us every time we take it into our lungs to breathe, to live, and to continually express ourselves. So, air is essential. It also is an elemental to be honored. The next thing we do, after we take our first breath, we are washed in water, and we are wrapped and we are laying upon the earth, because we're born to it. We are born of it. Without the earth, we could not survive. Everything our bodies need for nutrition, good health, medicine, comes from the earth. We lie on the earth till we learn to roll over. The next thing we do is we learn to crawl. And the next thing we do is we learn to stand upon that earth, and our footsteps remain forever on this earth. We are in motion constantly upon the earth, and we explore it, so we should love it. Earth is essential. It is an elemental honored. Fire. After we're big enough to walk, we walk around to different places, and we've walked into where the elders are. The first thing we do is put that child by the light, get that child warm, so they'll stoke that fire, or in modern days they'll turn up the heat, so that baby will be warm. We see light as we were born from the womb. We feel light as we breathe. We feel the fire, heat of the sun as we walk upon the earth. The fire is always tended in our hearth and in our bodies. The fire must be tended. For when we are cold, we must have warmth. The fire on the earth represents the warmth of the sun. We have it here. So I'd like to honor these elements. In birth, there's water. There's a song I wrote to honor water. The sound of water can be very sweet. I was listening to a quiet waterfall one day in the woods. You know, the drizzle. And I was like, geez, I wish I had the voice, that could make the sound. How can I produce the sound of water? It sounds so very sweet. And I did the best I could. And this song is called The Sound of Sweet Water. And this represents that essential, elemental water. What we are made of, what we need to survive. That very precious thing that some of us are working very hard to protect. The sound of the water should never go away. Yo hida hida ama, yo hida ama, uganas jodo hida, yo hida ama, uganas dama, yo hida ama, hey yo, anikena hakta gisheshti ama, yo hida ama, hey yo. Yo hida ama, uganas jodo hida, yo hida ama, uganas dama, yo hida ama, hey yo, anikena hakta gisheshti ama, yo hida ama, hey yo. Whee! tried to think, okay, do I have a song about air? Air is an essential elemental. It is to be honored. It is to be cared for, as we were cared for when we cried, when we called out for help, when we were infants, as we still call out, as we still express ourselves. So, I have this song called Anonoki Idish Ka'i. The trees are singing, and it's all about how the wind is blowing through the trees. That air is blowing through the trees, and it's making those trees talk. You know, and trees do speak to you if you listen. I'm one of those that likes to listen. To lay back and listen to what the trees are telling me, because they have a lot to say. So, to honor the elemental, essential elemental, honored air, trees are singing. Anonigi deshkoi, Anonigi deshkoi, Wanai aninega, Wanai aninega, Aniwoni Deshkai, Aniwoni Deshkai, Halagi Shkishteshti, Wanai Aniwoni Shkai, Ganola Ashkan Unole, Ganola Ashkan Unole, Higoli Diyasha, Higoli Diyasha, Deshkan Anada Shola Deshki, Deshkan Anada Shola Deshki, Anoni no Gishkan, Halagi Shkishteshti, Halagi Shkishteshki, Wanai Aniwonishkan. So now we honor the element of air. Fire. I have a strong connection to fire. I'm a Leo. So I understand the sacredness of fire. I think I understood it from birth before I was even taught the sacredness of fire, the warmth of the sun. How it makes us smile when it smiles so warmly upon our face. And how it keeps us warm. And then I learned how to make the fire. Has anybody ever made fire by friction? Without the big lighter, or without the Zippo, or without the match? It's an amazing experience, is it not? So when I was writing this song to honor fire, I kept having this sound in my hand, because this is what you'll do. If you're using a bow drill, you'll be going this. But you'll hear that, you know, of the wood. If you do it by hand, you'll hear, you know, you gotta go up and down, up and down. So I wanted to write something about fire. And there's not a lot of songs that women can sing in my culture. That's why I started doing what I'm doing. Most of the songs remembered are men's songs only, because they're hunting songs, or they're medicine songs, so they can provide or for their families or protect them. And they don't want the magic of women and the power of women touching the men's songs. And I had a hard time with this growing up when I started understanding it. And then I realized, oh, we're just too powerful sometimes. We're just, you know, I understand. But it also is to keep a balance between men and women in our culture. Even though we're matriarchal, the man and the woman should both be here, not one above the other or seesawing back and forth. They should always be here. So that's why that's done. The balance needs to be maintained. But there were a lot of songs for women that had been forgotten, or for children, or for families. So that's kind of what got me started on what I'm doing, was to create those things, because women and children were born to sing. So we're going to honor that elemental fire by singing Anakatu, a women's fire-making song. I wrote this myself, and my translator and my muse was Tyson Sampson. Also could do it like me. But I love this song because it has such a power and strength to it. And what it does is it describes the physical act of making fire and the spiritual aspect of making fire. It describes this action here, to get your coals in your ember, so blow upon the ember, and then to send your prayer up with the smoke. So it describes both the physical and spiritual act that my people have around fire. And I love to sing it. It's just fun to sing. I can even get you to help me if you want. Whenever I go, Chila, you guys go, ha-ha-ee. 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 Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Very good. Here we go. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Ani wo ye washkole. Ani wo ye washkole. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Chila. Ha-ha-ee. Achila uchele hashki yusht. Achila hadanana yusht. Achila ha-ha-ee. Achila ha-ha-ee. Achila ha-ha-ee. Alawena gishk tigangish nashki. Kala wodedi unelaha. Achila ha-ha-ee. Achila ha-ha-ee. Achila ha-ha-ee. Shugashon shawidanda. Ushkwina godanele go. Agudanto. Ho. Achila ha-ha-ee. Achila ha-ha-ee. Achila ha-ha-ee. Good job. Very good job. So, in thinking about these elements, there are, the four elements. That there's earth, water, fire, air. We can compare that to the four directions. Has anybody heard of the sacred four directions? I'm sure you have. North, east, south, west. I only got 5 minutes. North, east, south, west. Well, my people have 7 sacred directions. Not only do we have the north, east, south, west, but we have above. We have what's below. And we have what's here right now, where we are right now. And those can be interpreted in many ways. The above could be the unknown. We do have a word for heaven, but I think that word came along after Christianity because we believe our heaven is right here on earth. When our spirits leave our bodies, this is just a meat sack, and our spirits will go on to join the universal divine, and we'll be a part of all this beauty. And that's why it's so important to take care of it. That whole thing about plan for the next 7 generations. I believe in that. And the interpretation of being where you are right now, well, that changes. It changes as you grow. It's important part of our direction because as we grow older, as every little door opens in our minds expand, we take in knowledge. And it makes us move. So where we are now is constantly changing. It's not just about where you physically are on this planet, it's also about where you are within your spiritual and emotional growth. So I like the fact that we have those directions, and the below goes to our cosmology. You know, when we say our prayers, we talk about the sun, we talk about the moon, we talk about the earth, and we talk about what's beyond. That's those 7 directions. We talk about what's beyond, because there's a realm of possibilities. There's more realities than just this one. There may be more dimensions within this world that if we are open enough to see, if our hearts are allowed to be open, if we're allowed ourselves to get in touch with our greatest gift, because when you take in that breath, you're activating that spirit that the Creator gave you. And when I use Creator, I'm talking of the universal divine. That is your spirit. That's who made you, you. What made Elizabeth, Elizabeth? What made Silas, Silas? Everybody is different. We have to nourish that individual spirit within each of us. We have to connect to it. We can't ignore it. We have to talk to it. See what it's doing every day. Because I have this thing about emotions and true feelings. I believe emotions are on the surface. And that's how we react to certain things based on our environment growing up, how our parents reacted, how our neighbors reacted, or how even a larger group of people reacted. But then there's how you truly feel way deep down underneath. And that's when you start connecting to the truth deep down. That's when you start connecting to your spirit. And you can talk to it every day. It's that bright light that's inside of you that's keeping your body going and keeping you who you are. And I sometimes feel it's been forgotten or seemingly wiped from our collective memories that we are all part of a great family. The great family has many, many branches represented all over the world that's almost a universal symbol of the tree of life. And if you look at them, they're almost similar. So these types of symbols to me are clues that show even through the distance and time, a collective consciousness exists that connects me to you and you to her and you to her. And just on and on. Or maybe it's the remnants of ancient memories that are ingrained in our DNA. Because sometimes things happen to me and I don't know where they come from. I definitely wasn't taught them. Maybe it's because I've decided to open up my mind and let my spirit flourish instead of working so much on my ego. Because it just gets in the way. And when I do that, I seem to connect better, not only with just myself, but with people around me. I'm able to love more. I'm able to get past that conception of what people call hate, which I don't think really is hate. I think it's fear. I know I'm going to be cut short. I have so much more to say. But I visited, not too long ago, I was very ill. I felt like I was ill spiritually and emotionally, and I forgot about the physical ill part, but I was suffering physically from a problem. That when I went to see the healer, I traveled all the way to Oklahoma with a tribal elder from my part of the country. And when I got there, he sat me down and said, "You've never been here before." You know, so I want to tell you how, first I want to talk to you about things. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know what to expect on the drive down there. What's this man going to be like? You know, some people call him a holy man. Some people call him an Indian doctor. Some people call him a shaman. Most of the time we just have healers and we have conjurers. You know, the good and the bad duality that always has to exist. And the first story he told me, he sat down and he told me what was one of the oldest stories ever told when it comes to mankind. He told me that once we were all a great family, and that we all the nations of the peoples of all the different colors of their skin, lived together as one great family. And of course things happened, and we were warned by the universal divine to watch out for each other and to make sure that the great family stayed together. But we're human beings, so we're flawed. We forgot our design, we forgot our purpose. We forgot to honor the great family. We forgot to work harder to keep it together. There's much more to the story that gets real detailed, but I want to skip a lot of that because the reality is the great family still split apart. Some went to the west, some went to the east, some went to the south, some went to the west. When he was telling me this story, it was a concept I had believed in my heart to be true, but of course I've never heard any of my people say it, or hardly anybody say it. And I just burst into tears and I started crying, because sometimes when you hear something that you know to be true or feel has a representation of what you feel to be truth in it, you can't help but cry. You release your water and you shed those tears. You know, I was just sitting there crying because I had never felt a lot of the hatred towards other peoples that the people around me had felt. I'd always, why do you have to be like that? So I burst into tears crying. And Crosland gave me a prayer, which I adapted when I left. And since I have to close, I would like to share it with you. He told me that every day when I prayed, I should pray to the creators. Another thing that he told me was that we have a mother and a father creator. That's why we have both women and men. And a lot of my people don't like to acknowledge that anymore, that they're afraid to acknowledge that there are two. But I knew it to be so when I heard it. So he told me to acknowledge them, tell them my name, be it my Cherokee name or Kituwa name, or be it my English name. Because I am their child, they will know who I am, but I have to say my name. So I talk to them, I call to them, and then I call upon the sun that warms, that shines so warmly on my face every day. And he also asked me to call upon the moon that lights my way through darkness. And he also asked me to call upon Elohim, the earth, and all of her family relations. That means every single creature, every plant, everything that grows upon her is a member of my family. And also the great family, to call upon them and ask them for help. And then he asked me, then, after you call upon these things, then you have to call upon your ancestors. You call upon the ones who crossed and left this world into goodness and light, because they will help you from that side of goodness and light. And you tell them your name, they will know who you are. And then he said something that surprised me, but after he said it, made so much sense again. He said, after you call upon those elders that are your ancestors and elders who have crossed and left this world into goodness and light, call upon the ones who left this world in darkness and chaos. And I looked. He goes, because they, even though they're gone and everything that they may have done to themselves or to others, they weren't at peace, they can battle for you from that side. Because they still love you and they will know your name. And those were the prayers that he gave me to call to the sun, or the creators. We call them Unetanahin Agalishi, grandmother creator, Unetanahin Agadud, grandfather creator. And we ask for the sun. I call upon the moon. I ask the earth, to listen to me, to be a part of me while I'm praying, and to help make me a better person, or help me through this particular trial, or to help others that I know with their problems. But I put this prayer in a context that a lot of people could understand, that was different than what I learned. So maybe they could carry it home with them. And I wrote it into a poem format, and it's called Kituwa Woman Prays, because I am a Kituwa woman, and this is the way I pray. We always announce ourselves to get their attention, because sometimes spirits they're busy, they're not listening. So we have to call their attention. And we do this by going, Ka! Ka! Let peace grow here. Like a seedling, as if a newborn child, we shall nurture it as the plant family provides nourishment for us. Let peace grow here. Let peace grow here. We dream of joining the four-leggeds as they run and jump, their hearts beating in tune with the forest. As we protect our own, we protect you. Let peace grow here. Let peace grow here. Our eyes follow the winged ones, the teachers of the seekers, the multicolored warrior singers of the sky, and let us hope that our hearts and minds become as keen as their eyes. Let peace grow here. Let peace grow here. Let us gaze down at the crawlers who most forget. We honor these powerful, interesting creatures who understand their role in this world. Let peace grow here. Let peace grow here. Let the rivers be full and flowing, and may the swimmer creatures grow and be bountiful. May all waters remain sacred. Let peace grow here. Ka! Let peace grow here. Let all of the great family be healed of any great hurt. Our spirits need be calm yet wakened, so our actions are clear. Let peace grow here. Ka! Listen to me. Let peace grow here. May the great family come together once again to teach our children the right ways. To laugh, to love, to dance together through time, to be united once again. Let peace grow here. And those are my prayers for a better world and for a better future for all of us. Because all of these things describe those elementals, those essentials from our cosmology, from our birth. One of the first origin legends you'll learn if you're studying the origin myths and legends of the Cherokee people is about the earth. We believe that the earth is hanging from 4 cords from the sky, and it's suspended over water. And after talking, with this powerful man, who was just a man, but a very awake and aware, in touch with all the spirits around him kind of man, I began to think about that legend more, and the fragileness of the planet and the people on it. Because our legend says that one day those cords will break and that the earth will fall into the underworld. To us, the underworld is the ocean. And I got to thinking, oh gosh, look at the planet, spin the globe. There is so little dirt, actual physical dirt, rising above the water. That's how fragile it is. And it doesn't take much. We've seen it over the past few years watching the news. We've seen pieces of that earth fall into the ocean. And then we've seen the waters rage because of it. We've seen the fires. So I began to think about that legend in a different way. Legends, mythologies, origin myths are ways of explaining to us what our ancestors knew. Mine always knew that the earth was round. I mean, how could you not? I mean, everything's a cycle, everything's a circle. The seasons of the years, the way we grow, the way we develop. Still needing water, still needing fire, still needing earth, still needing everything. So, how do we keep it in balance? I think that the best way to do that is to start to talk to your spirit and see what it tells you. Get beyond the emotions of the everyday and see if it doesn't tell you that you need to plug in, that you need to wake up, that you need to look around and see what's really happening to the great family and to the world that we were born to. Because not only was our spirit a gift that went with that first breath, but so was the earth that we were born to, and all those precious, honored elementals I sang about. So, my message to you is to think about the cosmology and maybe the origin myths of your people, or keep exploring every origin myth all over the world, because there are secrets in there that are not secrets. We just think they're secrets. And when we know truth, we'll feel it in our heart. And open yourself up to the great family, that concept. Because look at all the war and everything that's happening now. It seems that everything always bad seems to happen at once. While there's war, there's earthquakes, there's tsunamis. It's the belief, my belief, that we send out energy into the universe, and if we're confused, or we're angry, or we're sad, that energy is going to affect this entire cycle, because we are connected to everything. And if we don't start changing our energy and thinking better about this place, this beautiful place that we were born to, it's going to get sick. Heck, it already is. Some of us are sick. If you're disconnected from your spirit, my people believe that if you're out of harmony, out of balance, then you're ill, and that you need to work on healing. But just think about that. If all of our thoughts and energies change, because energy doesn't die. I had a science teacher tell me that too. Like when you get shocked by a plug, the energy just fizzles out into the air. That's not true. Energy never dies. It just goes and goes until it can find something to connect to. And if it's bad energy, what's it going to connect to? Other bad energy. Other bad thoughts. If it's good and beautiful, what's it going to connect to? Those things that are good and beautiful. So by our thoughts and our connection to ourselves and our connection to our cosmology, how we were born, we can really change things. We can make things so beautiful. It's not as easy as that, because working on yourself is harder than any work that you'll ever do. But that's my goal. I'm not sitting up here pretending to be pretentious, or that I'm perfect, or that I've done all of these things. I'm continually learning, I'm continually struggling, I'm continually talking to my spirit, trying to be beautiful. Not out here, this doesn't matter, but trying to be beautiful in here. Trying not to be ingrained in fear, like history has made us to be. I guess I'm done for the day. I went over. Sorry, Silas. But I really wanted to get those things across to you, that we have all this within us. And if we let those doors open, then we help another. We have a tradition. If you lift yourself up, then you're supposed to take someone with you. And if you can take many with you, if you have that venue, do it. Bring them with you on a beautiful ride. In my language, we don't have a word for goodbye. We have, because we believe that we will see each other again, either in this world or the next. So instead of saying goodbye, we say "Day to Dagahoya," which means till we meet again. And I know we will in this universe somewhere. Whether I'm a flower, you're a tree, or whether you're a dog that pees on me. We'll see each other again. It was nice talking with you.
Thank you all. Come back and see Sugar Tree on the 13th at 7 o'clock.